The part that blows up the whole lazy war of the sexes story the pundits love so much. What if the line we've been arguing about is the wrong line entirely? The dividing line that actually moves the country is not the chromosome, it's the wedding ring. So why do the pundits keep selling us the war of the sexes? Who benefits when men are at war with each other, when men are at war with women? Who benefits when we're at each other's throats? Think about that. The real divide is family. Here's a fact that decides American elections, and almost nobody says it out loud. Women vote more than men, and not a little, a lot. In the last election, 91 million women cast a ballot, nearly 9 million more than men. Women have outvoted men in every presidential election since 1976. So, to understanding who runs this country, you have to start with how many women vote. And we understand it worse than almost anything else in politics. It is one of the most crucial issues in American politics. Welcome, patriots, to this edition of Common Sense for America. I'm Bruce Rutherford, your host and commentator, coming to you from the beautiful Westwood Golf Club in Houston, Texas. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button and subscribe. Now let's dive in. Last time I warned you not to let anyone reduce you to a category you never chose. Today, we take the biggest dividing line of all in identity politics, in all of American politics, and I'm going to handle it with the data and with respect. Let's get into it. The gap is real. In 2024, women backed more candidates by about 10 points than men did. Men backed the other candidate by about 10 points. That's a 20-point canyon, and it's been that way for an entire generation. So here's the progressive read, and I want you to hear it fully because it is real. Women lean Democratic because the party speaks to things women care about. They care about more often and more intensely than the things men care about. The cost of child care, the doctor's bill, the care of a parent, the safety net under a family that has had a rough patch. And underneath that is something that I respect very, very deeply. Empathy, a heightened concern for the person who is struggling. That is not a weakness. It is one of the finest things in human nature. And any man who sneers at it has forgot who raised him. Now, when progressives say women see the human cost that men too often skate past, they're not entirely wrong. Now, here's my read, and I will call it what it really is, a theory. The same empathy, the instinct to help the one who is hurting, can be pointed at government and told, you fix it, government. And a party that answers, yes, we'll fix it, we'll give them the help they need, they'll always have a deep appeal to a compassionate heart. As Thomas Sowell warned, the most compassionate sounding programs often trap the very people they're mean to lift. But here's the tension that we keep coming back to. The very same women, as mothers, raise their sons and daughters to be strong, independent, able to stand on their own. No good mother raises a child to be dependent forever. And so the instinct in the home is self-reliance. And the instinct at the ballot box can be the opposite. And I do not think those two have been properly introduced to each other. And those of us who worry that good intentions can build a softer kind of cage around us, we're not entirely wrong either. Have you seen this in your own family? But here is the real problem. The part that blows up the whole lazy war of the sexes story the pundits love so much. It's not really men versus women at all. What if the line we've been arguing about is the wrong line entirely? Look closer at the data, and the gender gap nearly dissolves into something else, a marriage gap. Married women lean Republican by about 5 points. It's the unmarried women, especially young and never married women, who lean Democratic. Never married women are nearly 50 points more likely to lean Democratic. Married voters went Republican by 11 points. Unmarried voters went Democratic by 14 points. The dividing line that actually moves the country is not the chromosome, it's the wedding ring. It's whether a person has formed a family. Now think about that. Does that make sense to you? And that should change the entire conversation, because if the split were simply men against women, you'd be stuck. Nobody is changing anybody's sex, at least not in sufficient numbers today. But that's not the split. The split is about marriage, family, and the stage of life you're in. So why do the pundits keep selling us the war of the sexes? We're not watching a war between sons and daughters. We're watching what happens to a country where fewer and fewer people are getting married and fewer people are starting families. A share that has tripled among one party's voters in a generation. This is not a battle line. This is a story about family formation, and family formation is something a culture can actually rebuild. So here is the common sense. First, stop letting anyone sell you a sex war. The next pundit who tells you men and women are enemies is running the exact divide and conquer play from last week. And the data says he's wrong. Who benefits when men are at war with each other, when men are at war with women? Who benefits when we're at each other's throats? Think about that. Second, if the real fault line is marriage and family, then the most important thing this country can do is make it easier economically and culturally for young people to marry and raise children, because strong families have always made strong, self-reliant citizens. And third, to my fellow conservatives, if women vote their compassion, then do not lecture them about it. Earn your side of the argument. Show that freedom and self-reliance are not the cold opposite of caring for people, but the most lasting way to actually lift them up. Here's what you need to remember. Women are not a monolith, and men are not a monolith. And the people who tell you otherwise are selling the same shattered pie, divide and conquer strategy by a different name. The real divide is family, and a nation that wants to come back together can start right there, right at the kitchen table. Talk about this at that very same table tonight. And tell me in the comments, where do you think the marriage gap is taking us? The next time we turn to the one thing that has to hold for any of this to matter, the integrity of the vote itself. Until then, may God bless you and yours, and God bless America.